A Lesson Before Dying. Let's talk about the author. His name was Ernest J. Gaines, and he was born in a small town in Louisiana. And he was born into a hardworking family that worked on a plantation. After high school, he joined the Army, which gave him a full college education at San Francisco State University, where he was able to write his first short story and graduate with a bachelor's in English. He eventually got his master's from Stanford University. His first big break in literature was with the book Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. Here, Gaines was able to gain traction in his career and was able to bring his career around. Novel summary. A man named Jefferson is sentenced due to a crime he did not commit. Jefferson was just an unlucky man at an unlucky time. His stepmother, however, wants Jefferson to die a scholar and not an uneducated hog. So, this is where our main character comes in. Grant, an educated African American teacher, is tasked with giving this man a proper life and therefore a proper death. So, this is where the story and the relationship starts. Grant initially does not like the concept of giving the man the things he needs, but he can't see him to die like this. So, throughout the story, Grant and Jefferson form a very tight bond. Over the time between the beginning and the end, we see Grant develop as a character and really form a strong sense of love for the South, which he was missing in the start. The characters in the novel. The book had three main characters, Grant, Jefferson, and Tantelou. The main character of the story, of course, is Grant, a black teacher who has spent his entire life being ridiculed and segregated, breaking his confidence and his love for the South. Jefferson is a convict sentenced to death by a racist court and is called a hog, which causes the entire story to start, and for Jefferson and Grant to meet. Jefferson is a timid and sincere man, but has below average intelligence, and he pleads to die a man instead of a hog. The last character is Tantelou, the aunt of Grant. She is a deeply religious woman who despises the fact that Grant is an atheist. Although she is also subject to harsh racism, she finds peace in the church and with God. The novel's setting is in rural Louisiana in 1948. This setting follows along historically with with what the 40s were like in the U.S. Although African American people had rights, they were severely limited to what they could do, and they still suffered harsh racism from white people. They were also subject to harsh segregation, which meant they were not able to use the same toilets, restaurants, housing, transportation, and schools as white people, which would often lead them to having lower budgeted resources for all of those things. The themes in this book is cloaked racism, redemption and death, and an inescapable past. For cloaked racism, it is the lesson that racism is still present within kindness. An example in this book would be the white community pitying Grant's school with school supplies. The next would be redemption and death, in which the lesson is that death is a large thing that can impact the community. In this book, Jefferson started out as a nobody, but towards the end of the book, he had won the hearts of everyone around him, and his death ended up being very impactful. The last theme is an inescapable path. In this book, Vivian had made many mistakes, which led her to keep her kids and Grant inside this racist community of Louisiana.